Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here. And today I am joined with an amazing outlier, Will Lewis. I'm going to actually say Dr. William P. Lewis right here, right?
I'm humbled.
Will, it's good to be in space with you here on the Outliers Edge podcast. We bring together outlying leaders who are creating 10K plus months through their authentic, personal, and profitable personal brand. And we got connected a couple of weeks ago. I like what you're up to. I like what you're bringing out into the world, and I'm really glad to bring you on onto this into this space to talk to outliers and for us to like jam in and see a little bit more about what you're creating and how you're going about doing it.
Yeah, Niiamah, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it. Let's jam. Let's do
Let's
some jamming.
jam. Let's
Yeah,
jam.
yeah,
All right. Well, so like I do like to start off each conversation with just like a bit about who you've been to me so
yeah,
far. And I include this here because a lot of times we don't get reflections back. All right. One. Two, it helps ground me into the conversation. And three, I think that like, we're like you're a leader. We're going to talk leadership here today. I think that it's something like one of my beliefs as a leader is to help people see who they are and to grow into that. I often tell people, I'll never hold you accountable to your tasks. Of course, I
yeah,
want you to get things done, but I'm going to hold you accountable to who you say you want to be.
yeah.
You know, and so I'm going to let you know a little bit about how your being has impacted me today. You good with that?
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
cool. So outliers, this is if Will and I were at a party together, I was gonna introduce him. This is what I would say. I love for y'all to get to meet Will. What you should know about Will is that he comes with an openness that is also incredibly directed. With Will, you can go and be in the space and allow yourself to grow and explore. And as you go out to see what emerges and what else comes, you actually end up kind of counterintuitively, the more that you go out to emerge, the more that you come back home to yourself and what really, really belongs for you. Like Will, I've experienced you as a positive force for openness, a positive force for exploration. And even with the jam, I'm like, yeah, like I would love to just grab some instruments and just like put on some music and just like play some chords and see where it goes. So we're gonna do that like metaphorically here in this conversation, but I do want to give that reflection back. I know we're still getting to know each other, but like these are the kinds of things that like you can't put on people don't get to read on a website and know. I'm like outliers. If you, it is palpable. It is palpable, and I am so grateful to be in conversation with you here today, Will.
I'm honored. I am honored. Thank you so much for giving back to me what I put out there and what you have received from what I put out in the universe. Sometimes we don't know what we don't get that reflection back. We don't get that reflection pull back to be able to look in the mirror for somebody to say this is what you're giving into the universe. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. And outliers, you hear me do this on every single episode that we come on to here. And there's a reason that I do it because we don't get that reflection. So my invitation for you here is like every time you hear me like do this with someone, make it a point to go that day and reflect back to someone in your way. I do it on the podcast. I'll share it like right away, but like just let someone know. Right. Because we don't get those mirrors and it's those elements of what we do that are great that if we can do that on purpose, could end up being our outlier advantage and give us a lot of leverage. So I'm going to ask you outliers to just like take that on for yourself here. Will, we're going to continue our conversation. I let outliers know about how I've experienced you so far, and they'll get a chance to experience you as well. What I'd like you to do is give us some context about who you are professionally and the
Yeah.
game that you're playing out in the world with your personal brand and your business.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Professionally, I am in the space. I grew up, if you will, in higher education, doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work, helping if you boil all that down, what is that really? It's really about helping people reach their full potential. And what I'm doing now is an extension of that, helping people reach their full potential. But I want to also add that as I began to think about, you know, the totality of what I'm doing, the totality of what I'm doing is really helping people get the confidence they need to reach their full potential. So it's one thing to uh, say I'm gonna do something. It's another thing to actually do it. It's another thing to really believe in what you're doing. I help people believe. I help people find the confidence and the belief in themselves that they can do it. Let me give you just an example of that. today, this morning, I was in a conversation at a coffee shop with a colleague of mine who was looking to write a book. And I've written my first book, and I'm in the process of writing the manuscript to my second book. And he just wanted to get some thoughts from me about writing my book. And I shared with him, and I said, hey, this is going to prick you just a little bit. But I said, if you do not write your book, you're being selfish. And I said, you're being selfish because humanity needs to hear what you have to say. As a matter of fact, I say that to everybody I come in contact with. Everyone has at least one book inside of them. And if you do not write that book, you are being selfish because humanity needs what you have to give. You have a gift to give to humanity. And so you need to write the book. And then I gave him some tips on from what I've learned. And not to say that these tips will help everybody. I don't know. They're the things that help me. But I gave him a couple of tips as it relates to how I wrote my book that were helpful for me. And in that, those tips is what helps with the confidence. And so it's not just about telling someone to do something. It's also about giving them the tips, the strategies that will help them do it, which then begins to breed in the confidence that they can do it.
Yeah, so you talk about confidence right now. I like that mix there because um, you know, part of why I like this work here is that like we can easily Google, or I don't know, like nowadays I'm using ChatGPT. I'm like, tell me the answer to this, please. We can get answers to things, but it's the implementation now. Implementation more than it's always been important, but there's like an even bigger gap between understanding, having the information, and application. And that gap between that and the gap between execution and information or understanding to me often comes down to like the bridge of that is confidence, and being able to make some moves from there.
Absolutely. I would also say that gap is the confidence. And to your point, I tell people all day, you can just anything that I do, and I would suspect anything that just about anybody does, you can go out there and Google it. You can chat GPT, you can look at the AI, but AI does not give you nuance. And so for me, where my sweet spot is, my benefit to my clients and the world is I'm gonna give you nuance of the lived experience. AI can't give you lived experience. I give you the lived experience. And so that's how I help you with the confidence, because I can say, look, you know what? As an entrepreneur, when I tell you to do something scared, when I say do it scared, I know from experience what it's like doing it scared. Everything that you can imagine that will go wrong has gone wrong as it relates to me and my entrepreneurship. But I did it and I was scared to do it. And yes, some of that stuff happened. And guess what, y'all? I'm still here talking to you. So Niiamah, I'm still here talking to you even when I did it scared. So AI, Google gives you good information, but it cannot give you the lived experience and the nuances from the lived experiences.
All right, well, let's talk about one of your lived experiences here. Right now, I think in the past I would go and be like, all right, tell me about failure you had, and I do want to put that in here. I do like to keep us real in here. We're also a very creative bunch here, and so what I wanted to do is like maybe you can take us to like one of the inflection points for you from a place where you felt like things were working in your business, but like kind of maybe on and off, until like you felt like, oh wow, like when that inflection point came in, you're like, oh, now I'm in my stride. I know what I'm doing. I might still change things up here, but like I'm in that space where my lived experience is like one of like I can bring out. So you mind taking us to just a moment in time for that and letting me know a little bit about what was around it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting. I think last year actually was an inflection point. I've had several, but I want to go back to 2023. And as a matter of fact, back up to 22 and 21, those were excellent years. Those were wonderful years. Those were six figures four times over.
Mhm.
I've made more money from my business than what I've ever made in my career. In those 2 years, I was busy. I was hopping. The challenge, so 21, 22, I'm good to go. 23 is like, okay, things are kind of slowing down a little bit. And what happened is that I had so much work in 21, 22 that I was doing the work, but I was not doing the business development, and I was not putting in the processes in order to recreate the work that I was doing. So really, to be honest with you, I had an unsustainable business model in place. So the inflection point was when I began to look at my pipeline for 23, 24, and I did not have a lot in the pipeline. I had to say what's going on. And I realized I did not have a system in place, and I didn't have systems that can replicate, nor did I have some reoccurring revenue coming in. So understanding that I could not replicate what I was doing. They were one-hit wonders. A lot of one-hit wonders created a lot of growth in that time, but they were not, I couldn't replicate what was going on. And then I didn't have income that I could depend on.
Yeah.
So that became the inflection point. So from that point forward, I began to look at, okay, how do I put some systems in place, and what do I do now to create more sustainable and reliable income coming in? And so I built a membership program, a subscription program for my clients, that they come into kind of this membership. And now for me, it gives me more reliability. For them, it gives them more access to me, my services, and the gifts that I provide to them, and we all benefit together.
I love this here. Let's slow down a bit here, because you know, I get where you're coming from on it, right? And it's like you said, like six-figure business multiple times over, like all you go on the Instagram and you go onto the socials, and it's like, hey, follow me, look at what I'm up to, right? But what I'm also, but like you said something that really sparked me. You said my business model was off. You said something to that effect. That was not your exact quote. And then you talked about the systems there. So let's break this down a little bit for any outliers that are listening in right now. For anyone that like may not have thought about like their business model, quote unquote, because it seems like it should like what's not working about getting six figures multiple years in a row,
Yeah.
So let's break down here, and just like when you say a business model for you, because you also talked about systems and processes, and I want to just kind of separate those out. So when you say business model for you, like what are the things that you think about like with that business model? What components of what you just shared here, you're like, this is the business model part of it, this was the system part?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business model part of it was that I am the business. So what that means is that my business is set up to where I am the center. William Lewis, Dr. Lewis, is the center of the business. Therefore, if William Lewis goes down, the business goes down. So the business can only go and grow as much as William Lewis has capacities to go. So think about like this. Jay-Z said, I am not a he said, I am not a business, I am a businessman. And so when he talks about, well, he said, I am not a businessman, I'm the businessman. And so when he said that, basically, he is saying that, yes, Jay-Z he is the business, but in terms of thinking about him being the business, there are other systems and things that he has to put in place to be the business. So my model at the time was a model that put me at the center of the universe. That makes you feel good. When people see you, they're like, oh my goodness, and you feel really good, but that cannot be sustained. Often it cannot be sustained. And so now I have to begin to look at shifting the business model to where the business operates without me. So when you're just the business, when you're the business, you have created a job for yourself. So you're working a job. It's your job. You're self-employed. When you shift it to where the business works without you, now you created a business. So now you can go to sleep and you're still making money hand over fist, and you don't have to be there. And so shifting my business model to say, okay, this thing needs to operate without me, or at the very least, it can operate with 50% of me. And so now I have to put processes in place. So what are the processes that I have to put in place? So I have to put processes now. I'll be honest with you, to be honest with you, part of my business, although I'm a consultant, trainer, author, my business is a technology business. And the reason why my business is a technology business is because the processes I have to put in place are automation. And so now I have different things in place that automates the business. I have my email automation. My classes are automated. So now I'm moving more towards automation. So the manual work that I used to do, I don't have to do. And also I moved away from doing, I will still do one-on-one clients if they come to me. If I have a big client of 6 figures and they need a consultant, I'll do that. But I'm moving away from focusing primarily on that to focusing on a membership process that can be automated, that can be scaled. And so now we're talking about economies of scale. And so from a business model shift and also the processes, what is my marketing? My marketing now are paid ads on LinkedIn and also Facebook, automation, scaling the marketing process. Then a whole process in which, okay, I get you into my pipeline through a lead magnet. That lead magnet brings you into the conversation. Then once I get you on my email list, now there's automation that keeps on communicating with you. And so for me, it's all about those are the processes that I'm talking about that I didn't have in the past.
Yeah,
So yes, I still have to touch the business, but I don't have to touch it 100% as I did in the past.
yeah. Well, like I'm really excited by this here because I realize like at least at this stage, like if there's a season, if there's a theme of the season right now, it's speaking into what you're talking about right here, which is even as you're talking, I was like, if I was gonna niche down even more, I'm like, I would just like love to help those outlier entrepreneurs who like know how to make money, like they can make multiple six figures, but it's like, but is it sustainable? If like when they walk away, does it continue? And it's been wild for me, Will, because like I've been working with more people who are like they're our peers, right? They've made six figures multiple times, so on and so forth. And then when I start to talk to them about like their actual model, like of their business and how they go through, I find that I'm like, wow, this is a lot of work to get to where it is. And the
Yeah.
moment, like you said, it is you've made yourself a great paying job, but it is a job nonetheless. You don't even get the benefits,
Yeah.
like you have to go pay those, like that's coming out of pocket. Who's matching your 401k? You are, you know. And
Yeah.
there's an element right now where like I'm very interested in saying like, how do we make this sustainable? Because like the moment it's no longer sustainable, then your impact goes away. The moment like then
Mhm.
then you can't keep growing. Um, so I'm a big fan of automation. Automation, delegation, elimination too. Just being like, I don't need to take that on because that is going to become a new process. Right before we hit record, I think I was telling you, I was like, I feel like I used to be the visionary leader in my
Yeah.
business, and now I feel like I'm more like a visionary operator. And it goes back to those elements of like, I'm sitting here building out automations,
Mhm.
I'm choosing to keep it close right now. Like usually I would just go and kind of delegate or outsource that. I think
Yeah.
my mindset outsource first because I think that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
not necessarily delegating it properly, um, just so I can have it. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, I want to actually be in the ownership of this model. I will definitely get other people delegated to other people to run the model soon, but I want to be in the ownership of that. Can we speak a little bit more to that, like in terms of like what that transition was like for you, and just for anyone out there that's like they're successful, they're making money, but like when they go to bed, it's like where's like can I keep this up?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have any thoughts for them on that, and then we'll see where the
Yeah,
conversation goes.
absolutely. I think a couple of things. One is that delegation is really something that I'm trying to get used to and comfortable with as well.
Hmm.
Um, when I was in the corporate world and higher education, I had people that I could delegate to. So I would say, "Hey, do this task, do that." They would do it, and it would be great. In the entrepreneurial space, it's interesting because I want to hold it more because it's now it's my baby, is my thing, and so I'm trying to hold on to it, trying to make sure that it's perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. I've gotten used to that. Sometimes you just you put it out there, and the market will help you to make it perfect, if you will. But I think that, so for me, it's really about trying to get people to buy into the dream and uh, trust them and say, okay, here are the things that I need from you to help this to move forward. If I got somebody on my team that I trust, that they're comparable and competent, then I go ahead and let them uh, do the thing that we've agreed that they're going to do, right? And then at the end of the day, is I'm not there yet, but I'm striving to get there, and give me another 18 months and I'll be there. I will be on vacation, and people, I'll be making money because people will be coming into my automation and coming into my membership, and just like I'm making money while I'm sleeping. That's the end goal, right? That's the goal for creatives, is to, how do we take the passion, the gifts, the talents that we have, and how do we monetize that to the point to where we're sleeping, we're still making money. I wrote the book, and now, and just to give you an example of that. So for me, writing the book was about a 6 to 9 month process. A lot of heavy work, a lot of everything, intellectual property, everything on the front end in writing the book. Now I go to sleep and somebody bought a book off of Amazon. All that work I did for 6 to 9 months, now it's paid off, because when somebody purchased that book on Amazon, you know, I'm asleep, and now I'm gonna get a check. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. Is I don't once I create it, I put a lot of work on the front end to create it, but once I create it, then it begins to make money for me.
I love this. There's something with the book that I'll bring up with you here, which is like it's actually one of the places that brought me into my awakening of changing, looking at my business model and realizing like it's doable, but it isn't like, even at its best, it ain't that great, you know? And that,
Yeah.
like, unfortunately, I keep running into that. I'm like, like, I guess this is what entrepreneurship is. It's like, we have an idea, we go out, we bring it out to life, we start playing it out, and we're like, I can this could be fixed because it's
Mhm.
not giving me what I want. This could be fixed. But even at its best, it's not going to give me what I want. Like, and I think I'm hearing that with like what you were doing earlier with your original business model. You're like,
Yeah.
I could I could get more people in the pipeline, but I'm still gonna have to do all the work. I'm still the single person of like single point of failure in this whole thing. I'm still the
Yeah.
center of it. Like I say successfully achieving failure. You
Yeah.
know, it's like we
Right.
executed a plan to a T, and man, this sucks.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
what's coming to mind is it's a book. The book called One Book Millions Method. It's written by oh, I used to listen to it a lot, so I knew his name. But it's there's a business called Peaceful Profits, right?
Hmm.
And I like to give them props and specifically mention them because it's a book that changed my life. I actually wrote a book, so I'm gonna just amend your earlier comment about like if you don't write a book, it'll be selfish. I wrote a book. I haven't actually promoted a book, so if you don't get that book out into the world,
Right.
there's another
Right.
element, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
So we'll put that in there. But one of the things that shifted everything for me, and this is why I ask you about like business models and systems and processes and all this here, and the inflection point. But I read that book, and it talked about the premise of that book was write a great book that gets you clients, and then use paid ads to get people to buy it on a regular basis, and do it outside of the Amazon platform so that you can then put them into a funnel that can then pay for itself, an acquisition funnel, right?
Yeah.
And he talked about like this one mechanism, which was about the cost to acquire a customer should be less than your average order value, right? That's how it was
Mhm.
rated. Nowadays, it might tell you cost to acquire value customer compared to your lifetime value, right? Or your lifetime gross profit. The thing about that there was when I read that chapter, I realized that I wasn't like everything I thought about business was like I was creating revenue,
Yeah.
but I wasn't creating a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I can bring in a 5-figure client,
Hmm.
bring in multiple of them, you
Hmm.
know, but then like the question became, where's the next one coming?
Yeah.
And once I walk away, is it still coming? Yes, I have you on a contract. There's money that hit my bank, but is it actually me? Am I actually creating a client while I'm gone? I wouldn't say that's the case. And
Hmm.
there's that component of understanding, like, wait a minute, there is a math game to this. They say it's not a numbers game, but it is kind of. And underneath it, there's math that operates this thing.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
so when you're bringing these up, it kind of brings me to that like that awakening for me, and just says like, wait a minute, the game that I thought was happening, especially like the lifestyle game, like I just want to build like a freedom lifestyle business. I'm like, oh, I missed a major component of how this can work to be like this simple and like what's really happening underneath everything. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? And then
Yeah.
we'll see where we go.
No, absolutely. I think that for like so this my shift in my business model is that math.
Yeah.
It is so even when I do ads, I have someone that's helping me look at ads and we're looking at that lifetime value and how much it's going to cost me to acquire a client. And so we're trying to bring the ad spend down, so it saves me money and I'm making more money when my ad spend is down. And also when I'm looking at the membership model that I'm going into is an economies of scale model. It's like compounding interest. So for example, uh, I have right now I'm launching my I have 6 people in my membership and my founding members launch, right? The goal is to give them everything that they need and have them to have a great experience. And then I'm gonna relaunch in the first of the year, I wanted to 3x how many people I have inside of that membership. And
Mm-hmm.
then with each launch, I want to continue to grow the launch. Is that's possible because one, the folks who have experienced the membership, they're going to help with the marketing by word of mouth. Secondly, as I go, the price point is low enough. Although each launch I will increase the price, but it's low enough to where people can see the value for what they're getting. And then over time, it's like compounding interest. You keep on launching, you raise the price, you get more people in. You launch, raise the price, get more people in. It compounds over time. And so when I look 3 years, when I look at after a whole evolution, 1 year of this process, I started out with a low price point and low numbers, but over time, you keep on doing it, it compounds interest and it grows and it grows and grows. Now you have built out a 6 figure, perhaps 7 figure business based on the compounding interest concept.
All right, cool. So we're gonna like dive into to a lot of these things here because um nowadays membership and ongoing like it's a big part of my world, right? I've always wanted to be community. I went down a path of one-on-one because they're like, oh, that's more like I don't know. I spend time with people and good things happen, you know.
Yeah.
And if I'm really honest, what it was is like I didn't know how to go deep with people, And so the one-on-one, I saw a whole new world of things. But
Mhm.
now it's like there's something that happens when you're in a group of people that that you can't really get with just an individual component here. Um, yeah, I'm gonna want to jam with you around like your membership model. I can feel it. And what I'm hearing from you is like it's not like you have a beta group per se, but you have a small group of people that you're coming in, you're incubating that, you're getting them results, you're doing it at a lower cost than what like the actual cost is.
Mhm.
So that you can learn, you can get them great responses, you can um essentially what's going on, Will, it's like I'm thinking about what's the compounded interest, right? Because I've had things where I've had them for years and it didn't actually grow anywhere, right? It doesn't actually just grow with the interest unless you are fueling it properly.
Yeah.
It's like there's cash underneath your mattress and there's cash
Mhm.
in the bank,
Yep.
like
Yep.
one of them grows with interest, one of them is just the same.
Yep.
So And tell us a little bit about your membership here. So if anyone's interested, whether the doors are open now or if they have to wait until another time when you launch it and open it up there, tell us about like what's going on in the membership itself, in case any outliers want to come play.
Yeah, absolutely. So the membership opens, it closes September 9th, and then it reopened in January with the new cohort. I'm excited because I'm putting all of my experiences, entrepreneurship, author, speaker, executive leader, all of that into this membership. So essentially, kind of a couple of components. The end goal is to help you as an emerging leader to become a transformative leader. That's at the end of the day.
Help me here. Make that real for me. What would you say is an emergent leader? What would you say it looks like a transformative leader?
So
I think it's important what you do. So I want to make sure we talk about
absolutely. So the emerging leader are those individuals who are 1 to 5 years into their leadership work. They just hit the job market. They're ready to go. They're emerging. They have some promise, if you will. They want to get to the C-suite. What
Is this like
this
a manager? Like is this like a director? Help me see like I want like an outlier
so,
to
so
listen to this and be like,
a- a-
oh, I get it. I am this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this would be your mid-manager level, moving to the director level, then moving into the C-suite. So when we look at leaders, right, you have a leader that either leads themselves or they lead a small group of people. Then you have a leader that leads a division or department. Then you have a leader that leads the entire enterprise. And so what I'm looking at is to engage those leaders who are at that sweet spot of perhaps in the middle of leading themselves in a small group of people who are ready to begin to lead a division of folks. They're not yet quite ready to lead the enterprise, right? So I work with you to get you ready to begin to lead the division, and then help you once you are prepared and you have the skills that you need, you have gone on to lead a division, then I help you begin to lead the enterprise, if you will. And so and the skills that you get when you engage with me are those real life skills around how do we communicate a vision, how do we show with executive presence, how do we understand how to resolve conflict within ourselves and within our teams? How do we look at the organization from a panoramic worldview, organizational view? How do we look at organizational culture? What are the systems that are in place? What is crisis management? So, as you're going to get each of those particular skill sets, depending on wherever you land within an assessment that you take. And so when you come into the membership, it's not going to just come in and say, okay, we're going to take all these classes. No, you're going to come in, we're going to do an assessment to see where you are, where you land as an inclusive and entrepreneurial leader. So wherever you land with the assessment, that assessment will begin to help you go to the particular content that you need to take. In addition to the content, there's a community that we're building. And that community will be all the leaders inside of this community will begin to learn from each other. So we'll begin to talk with each other, talk about lived experiences, talk about successes, talk about failures, uh, kind of a natural mentoring program inside of the program, if you will. By the time you end, depending on wherever you start, by the time you end the membership, if you desire to end the membership, some people can go on and stay in until they get to that C-suite. Other people may say, "Hey, you know what? I got to the next level of promotion." But when you leave, you will leave confident. At the end of the day, I'm going back to what I talked about earlier, is this whole thing about confidence. You will leave me feeling more confident to do the work of a leader, to lead where people want to come work for you and want to be with you.
All right, thank you, Will. I felt it was important to like actually get into like so what is this membership here,
Yeah, yeah.
and how you're playing it out. Look, I'm appreciative, you Will. I think it was a really interesting conversation for me, and right, I appreciate you being exactly the person I said you were, at the beginning of this, like both opening space to explore, but also coming in and being like, okay, well, this is actually it, being an example of belonging. Because like realistically, I'm an emerging leader, right? Even as an entrepreneur, I'm still finding I have my leadership game, you
Yeah.
know. Then I have to now I'm like, how do I lead myself? How do I lead other people? How do I lead through teams? How do I lead through automation? How do I get a vision? And then one of the most interesting things right now is like communicate that vision. No, no, I'm good at communicating. So it's not a communicating. How do I get other people to see the vision? You
Yeah.
know? And so it's quite lovely being in conversation with you. It's so funny here. What you don't know is like my head's like going all these different directions of like of where we could have gone and like was I being too selfish and everything in the conversation. 'Cause I'm like, this is what I want to know. I want to know how you're building your business, you know? And
Yeah.
you know, I'll say this here as we start wrapping up, but I'm grateful for you because you're catching me at a time, right? And I think that this is something that we can put out into the world where it's like you talked about multiple pivots, you talked about different things that you've learned, you talked about different
Mhm.
things that like now you're focusing on this and this is the way that you're doing it. And what I'm feeling is like I'm recognizing there's an internal story of like I should just have it all figured out and just do the
Yeah.
one thing, you know. Whereas what keeps playing out for me in my back of my mind is like, oh, I'm so excited for this particular theme within the season because there's going to be a certain time in my life, you know, go look at like, you know, 2024 where I'm like, all I wanted to do was talk about business models, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like everything there was to talk about, we talk about it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and there'll
Yeah.
be another theme where every time everything I want to talk about is how are we hiring people or whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
But this is the theme of right now. And so I appreciate you, Will, because uh I realize that there's nothing to apologize for. It's just we gotta live exactly where we are, you know.
That's right.
And so thank you for living in that part and helping me resolve some conflicts within myself here.
Oh,
It's a cool thing. And I like to say these things out loud because I want outliers to get a sense of like, look, this is what happens when you spend time with Will, you know? And if I don't
yeah.
say it out loud, like these are the shifts that are happening. These are the transformational things that are happening. You
Yeah.
know, this
Yeah.
is like I'm changing as a leader. I'm changing in all my future conversations will be that much more different because I am that much more confident in myself,
Yeah.
right? And the way that I'm choosing to lead. So I want to make sure I'm putting this out here into this space here and giving some real time reflection because it's like you said, lived experience. I'm living the experience of the transformation that you bring with you. Right.
I love it.
Will, we're going to wrap up here. What I'd like to do is make sure the outliers have an opportunity to continue down the journey with you. So, what's the best way for them to do that?
So the best way to connect in with me is through my email, and that is William, WILLIAM, at WTLewis.com. That is WT as in Tom, Lewis, LEWIS.com. Send me
Awesome.
an email and we'll connect.
All right. Perfect. 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 You also talked about being on LinkedIn. Are you active on that?
Yeah, I am. If you go to William T. Lewis, PhD, you'll
Perfect.
find me there. William
All
T.
right.
Lewis,
Perfect.
PhD. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Well, like the way we play this game is that this game should be I'd like to have the conversation in a way that everyone gains something. I know that I got something. I know that the outliers listening are getting something. And I'd like to check in with you. Like, what's one insight that you got from this conversation? And the answer can be none, but I want to
Yeah.
just check in with you on that.
Well, you know what? I appreciate it. The insight is the conversation. Every time you talk about what you're doing, you begin to get sharper and crisper on how you convey what you're doing. And so the gift that you have provided me is that kind of asking me to go a little bit deeper is helping me to think about and articulate, verbalize what I'm doing much in a much more sharper way.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And you know, I'm going to end with this question. We call it the time capsule question. And in this, what I want to know is this: if you think back to where you were 10 years ago, and like just imagine that right there, could you have guessed where you would be right now?
Yes.
Awesome. So now what I'd like to do is now look at the next 10 years, right? And leave a message for the Will that's going to be there in 10 years and leave a message right now with the wisdom that you have to remind that Will of something really important that you know right now. What would that message be?
All the shit you've been through made you stronger, and it caused calluses so you can work through everything that you worked through in order to get here so you can pass it on to the next generation.
And there we have it. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to sorry for the clap, y'all, if that ended up being really loud for you. But thanks for taking the time to be here on the Outliers Edge podcast. Thanks for sharing your lived experience. Thanks for like giving us a sense of experience what confidence is like. And Outliers, to anyone that from this conversation or any parts of it, just go ahead and share this podcast with them. This is how we grow. This is how great people get to know great people, and ultimately want to just keep like growing and sharing and evolving and emerging with each other. So, well, I thank you, and
Thank you.
go out and have a great one.
Thank you. Appreciate you.